We are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and those of you still on the fence. We are back. Today we have Jeremy Todd with us. I'm really excited to talk to him, one of the key creators of the Liberty Unity Project. And we're going to talk about that. Jeremy's got some cool stuff going on we're going to talk to him about. Jeremy, why don't you just introduce yourself to the people right quick?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. Like you said, I'm Jeremy Todd. I am currently living in Arizona. I'm born and raised in the great state of Alabama, though. And I'm just that guy from Twitter. That's it for me. So, yeah.
All right, well, we're going to jump right into the biggest thing in media right now. I like to try to take care of some of those things really quick. There are 15,000 children in U.S. government custody on the border in Texas and Arizona, and you're in Arizona, a border state. What are your thoughts on this situation?
Mm-hmm. I think, well, I can look at it from a couple of different perspectives, really. One is that we get to see the Democrats kind of flail in the wind after they spent years, kind of talking about kids in cages and the brutality that was at the border. And that's their brutality. It's their ugliness, and they don't have a solution for it. And I think the good news to it all is that people are starting to wake up that these two parties are very similar. They don't have real solutions to these problems, and hopefully they'll be looking elsewhere in future elections to come up with those solutions. As far as my take on the libertarian solution, I think it's pretty simple. We start with the foundation that human rights it's the umbrella that everything else kind of has to fall into. And I don't think where you're born or these lines created by governments can take away or determine what your rights are. So everybody that's in detention at the border right now is being held pretty much against their will by a government. I don't feel okay with that. I would love to see an Ellis Island kind of style approach where, we welcome. Maybe that would be enough to make people think twice about the bloated welfare system as it exists today. But also, I think that's an absolute straw man that these people come and leech off of welfare. In reality, we talk about all the negatives to the potential of things that go wrong for immigration, but also we don't talk about the things that are good that happen from immigration, which is that these people become new consumers, right? So the economy moves because they buy food, they buy housing, they buy cars, they buy all of these other things. They become customers to American businesses. They create value through their job. They do all of these things that add value to society. They increase the speed at which money moves and wealth is created. So, it's not their fault that we created a broken welfare system. It's not their fault that we have taxation that provides for that. And I think their rights trump everything. It's a difficult problem to solve, but let them in, and they don't get to take advantage of a welfare system. That would be our ideal scenario, right?
Right. Yeah, I agree with you on that. One of the things that I've always found very entertaining about the Democrat and Republican argument, and they both kind of touch on it, is that immigration is actually good for the U.S. economy. But I look at it that it's also good for national security of America and the entire globe. We consistently hear China has 1.3 billion people. China's a growing military superpower. We need to be able to combat it. Well, an easy way to do that would be rival their population by allowing people to come here, work, join the U.S. military if they so see fit. That's a pretty good way to combat, something like China, is be just as big, just as powerful.
Absolutely. And, it's you have to take each one of these issues in a bubble, because on one hand, I'm like, well, yeah, adding to our population strengthens this country. It makes us more powerful. It makes us more have more people who are that. But then I also think, like, man, every day I think we should probably make this right. We should make this country smaller. We are, you know.
But I think where you're coming from is we should make government smaller.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And we can't. We have to be practical in our beliefs, but we also have to be optimistic. And I'm a painful optimist who is like, okay, I'll take the good, I'll set the bad to the side and just keep working towards what's positive and what that utopian goal is. And maybe that's silly of me, but that's how I approach things.
I like it. That's a good way to look at the world. So, okay, you've got you, David Fite, Reed Coverdell, Dave Smith's on board these days. You guys got something going, hashtag Liberty Unity, which I got to be honest, man, I've been in the Libertarian Party for a very long time, and I was sick of it. You know, 2020 was the one that just broke me. The infighting always bothered me, but 2020 with the lockdowns and everything, and the response from the Liberty Party was demonstrable, in my opinion. Right. But then, you know, I actually wound up seeing David and Dave Smith and Reed Coverdell. They had a conversation on Reed's show. And I was like, oh, maybe I should actually look into this a little better. You know, it seems like you got some guys that are trying to, you know, guys and gals that are trying to put some stuff back in place where, you know, you're not, well, such a joke. So why don't you talk to us about that? What got you going in that?
Yeah. So I have been since I kind of found the Libertarian Party around 2016 and really started my journey. And it was I've kind of been pretty oblivious to a lot of the infighting, mainly because I was just like, "Woo, go team," and I wasn't really in any libertarian circles. Then you get in the libertarian circles, and you're like, "Holy crap, these people hate each other," and I just didn't understand the need for us to be so visceral with one another, and so I started. It all kind of came out when Adam Kokesh kind of did that No Libertarian Under 1K, and we were all united, and everybody's like, "Whoa, we got our circle going, yay, go team!" And then you saw them all fight, and I was like, "Oh wow, this is really bad." So we had you know, Dave Smith was one of the real targets of this, in that I didn't like Dave. I didn't like the Mises Caucus. I thought they were just absolute piss and vinegar trying to destroy people. And I would challenge even people like Todd Hagopian. I was like, dude, why the hell are you the only one who isn't just constantly shitting on people? And essentially he said, look, we have tried to make positive changes in this party, and we're basically shit on by the party. And so it all kind of started to come to light that we have this, like we are a very small party, and we have very limited resources. And as humans, we have limited energy resources. And we were pouring all of that into fighting over just these small issues that didn't really weigh out into the world while we're watching communists march in the streets of Portland. We're being locked in our homes by our governors. We're passing the largest military budget that's ever existed, and we're fighting over who might be a closeted bigot and what this person believes that regardless of their genitalia, they have rights. Like, what the hell are we doing, folks? And so it came to fruition in 2020, like you said, not only with the pressure, but discussed this on that podcast you were talking about with Dave Smith, David Fite, and Reed Coverdale about and for all of it really happened when Joe kind of put out her tweets that not everybody agreed with, that not everybody saw in the correct manner, and then she basically came under attack, and I was like, man, we are struggling to get 1%, and here we are with this group of libertarians who were trying to tear down this other libertarian rather than saying, hey, we still agree on most of the issues, right? Mm-hmm. Little did I know that there was a lot going on behind the scenes, that tough conversations had already been had, and these people that were calling Joe and her team out had tried to engage in behind the scenes conversations like, hey, we really should be doing it this way, and they were basically blown off and ignored. So 2020's election happens, we underperform, we don't do as well as we should have. Libertarians didn't vote for libertarians. There's an entire section of libertarians that vote for Donald Trump. And I just was like, man, we are not going in the right direction. The message we have is so perfect and can change hearts and minds. And it should be catching on steam. The only thing getting in our way is ourselves. And so I really, the first person that we kind of, we started in this text group, and I was like, look, we really need to start calling out the infighting for what it is. And the first person we called out was Dave Smith. And he was like, man, you just, the way he approached us was, you made a light bulb go off in my head that I'm sitting here fighting with these people rather than highlighting the good things about the Libertarian Party, the good things about great libertarians that are out there. And I'm giving this attention to people who are bad actors and kind of want to keep this social club intact and keep it from growing. And so we attempted and have engaged a lot more people from a lot of different sides. I feel like there's been some peace drawn, and really what it is about, when it comes down to it at the end of the day, it's about priorities. What are the things that we as a party should be talking about, focused on, and kind of laser taking hold of? And that is, we need to end the wars of our own. They're a huge violation of rights of people. They are a tax burden on the American people like nothing else. A fun little number, and I like to share it this way. I tell my friends, you'll go to work this year, and over the course of the year, if you carve out 3 weeks, you give every single dollar you earn to the military-industrial complex. You're going to work for 3 weeks this year, and every cent that you earn for those 3 weeks is going to go to the military-industrial complex. Yeah. That rings a lot heavier than your tax dollars are going. And so that's one thing. We've got to end the wars. We've got to end the wars on people in America, the war on drugs and police brutality. And we've got to end this militarized police state. And then last is in corporate welfare. We don't need to be giving tax dollars to billionaires. We need to be out of business entirely and let things fail or succeed based on merit. The last point is everything else should be about decentralization practically. And so when we get in these fringe issues, it is important to realize that these fringe issues may be important to you and will support you in fighting your own thing, but unity is around, we are not going to make enemies of other libertarians on fringe issues. We are going to make allies out of libertarians on core issues. And we're going to be loud about the things we agree about. And we're going to quietly discuss the things we disagree about in private. We're going to elevate the best among us. And we're going to kind of push to the side the bad actors and the worst among us. And that's what that's kind of been the mission and how it's gone for 80 days now. And I feel like you said, you took notice that there are finally some people serious about making changes in the party, and the party making changes in America.
Yeah.
And I think, the more serious we get, the more we start to do the right things, we start to show proof and evidence, we can start to gather up all the libertarians under the Libertarian Party. There will be no more of this, well, maybe we should run as Republicans and, let some of our money go to
You
Mitch
don't like the
McConnell
Eric
and Donald Trump.
Brakey? You don't like the Eric Brakey argument?
I don't like look, I love Eric. I don't like
Oh, so do I.
He's because at the end of the day, no, Eric is great. Just like Thomas Massey, I think, is great, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I think from a psychological standpoint, and if we slap an R next to our name, we lose half of America from the beat, right? Like, because that party is now, the well is poisoned, in my opinion, right? When you say Republicans, they think red hats, they think Donald Trump making fun of whatever the thing was that he did. They think of all of that crude cruelty. All of that is now associated with the Republican Party, and you already start with an uphill battle. Whereas with most people, they don't even know what. I got 3 messages last week. Can you explain what libertarianism is to me? What the Libertarian Party is? Like, nobody asked what is the Republican Party, because they have formed psychological associations on their own. And so if we can be relevant as a party, I fully believe we can bring in the Tulsi Gabbards, the Thomas Masseys, even the Rand Pauls, to say, hey, we now are a viable third option. We are, and if we bring the actual libertarians away from the Republican Party and away from the Democratic Party, we got a force, but it starts with giving those people a good enough product. And so that's what we're fighting for.
Well, I agree with that. You're bringing up the Republican Party. I always laugh when people say the conservatives. I actually got some fire on Twitter during CPAC. I tweeted, the only thing conservative about CPAC is the words in the name. People got upset, but I'm like, what do you want from me? Like, but
you're
so that's the thing. I like the unity thing.
Yeah, the conservatives, man, like, you're talking about the largest government budget that's ever existed on the face of the earth. You're talking about the most money printed in the history of Earth. We're at war in 17 countries. Like, come on, there's nothing small government about Republicans at this point.
No, there's absolutely nothing small government about them. I agree with that. Your unity thing. One of the things that caught my attention was that I started to see people making more jokes, and actually part of that came down to, I watched a debate on the Lions of Liberty podcast between Dave Smith and Archie Flowers, and Archie was saying he said some nonsense about a meme, violating the NAP. And I was like, okay. But then I saw Dave's rebuttal to that, which is what my rebuttal would have been. But that's where I used to run afoul with the Libertarian Party, is I have a sense of humor. I'm not afraid of that sense of humor. I understand that some people are sensitive, I guess. And, if I don't intentionally mean to hurt people's feelings, but stereotypes exist for a reason. And if you see them as a joke, and if you have fun with people and you laugh, you're gonna keep people engaged a lot better than trying to walk on eggshells around everyone's feelings. Which, by the way, that I blame on those stupid nonsense participation trophies.
Yeah, absolutely. And you speak to stereotypes, and when people say stereotypes, they tend to think that like those can only be negative in context, like or racist in context. But let's be honest, like self-deprecating humor is pretty funny. And so I have been working on a little bit of I to Dave and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about doing some stand-up, but it's pretty edgy. If I ever want to run for office, this might disqualify me. He's like, you gotta, who am I to say that edgy? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm from Alabama. I'm going to joke about incest. So you joke about John McCain. I joke about incest. Like, so it's we gotta be willing to poke fun at ourselves too, and that's where it starts. I go back to this thing. So my entire life, my friends and family and people that I would interact with, they're like, dude, you come across so condescending. But when I know you and I understand you, I realize that what you're saying is coming from a really good place. That's the problem with Twitter, is that we don't ever really get the opportunity to know people's core root values. That takes time. And so when somebody says something, like you said, lightheartedly, they don't have some core belief that that's reinforcing. They really might just be making a joke, or we oftentimes lose the context of the character of the person over social media, and I think that has a lot to do with that. So I take the approach, and I learned this from a former colleague of mine. He said, no matter what, it's always best to assume positive intent from the other person in the conversation. So when you feel conflicted, say, well, what is the most positive intentions that this person could have by saying this? And then you ask questions to kind of clarify their position. And these are the skills that we lack in the Libertarian Party, and everybody was so viscerally reactionary, right? And so a meme might be posted that's funny, and somebody takes offense. Well, that person who takes offense will then go off and slander this other person, rather than saying, hey, to me that reads like this. Could you explain? Like, no, I don't feel that way. It's just a joke. I was trying to make fun of myself. I'm actually this person in this joke. And they go, oh, okay. That sort of engagement needs to happen. And it doesn't. It doesn't on social media. And we were pushed into social media by our government by locking us in our homes. And if you've ever sat down and had a beer with somebody, man, that's the way you got to treat social media. That's the way you got to treat all these people from afar. I would buy anybody on Libertarian Twitter a beer, and we would have a great conversation in person. It's only when you remove the context that that other person is an actual human do we get visceral, inviting, and disagreements and hatred towards each other.
Yeah, one of the things I noticed when I started this this channel was that I could talk to people. I've invited people on, and I've been lucky. I've come off to a pretty good start at this with my guests. But when you're visually having a conversation, you can hear each other, you can see each other. The conversation is much more lighthearted. It's much harder to offend the other person with a joke, because they get all of the contextualization that it's obviously a joke. So I think actually, a lot of people hate YouTube and they say they censor too much. I think YouTube revolutionized communication, and I don't think the Libertarian Party did a very damn good job of using that opportunity. I think they're now getting better at it, but it's not really the party doing it. You know what I mean? It's just people in the party that are doing it.
And that we can't lose sight of that, though. Like that's the thing that I want to inflect on people, is that when we say, okay, when we say the Libertarian Party is problematic in some way. Uh-oh, I've lost connection to my camera. Can you still see me?
No, can hear you. Your audio's good.
Okay. We think of it as like this entity of 5 people who exist and run these social media accounts, right? That's not the party. The party is us. We are the party. And so if we want the party to be better, we need to be better, right? And people who have messages and influence and all of these things become what is the Libertarian Party. But it starts with us being willing to say, no, I am the Libertarian Party.
Yeah. Okay. I agree with that. Strangely, your audio got better when your camera went out. That's funny.
Oh, interesting. It must be what is that? A bandwidth issue.
Oh, yeah. Well, you are down there in Arizona, so there's that.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's see. So we were talking before the show started that you've got a little side hustle, side project you're working on, which I like the idea of it. Why don't you go ahead and let us know what you're working on there?
Yeah. So if you can kind of pick up from what I'm laying down on everything, that one of the fundamental shortcomings within our movement and our party is our own interpersonal communication skills. And for 14 years now, I've either been in sales management, or a sales trainer, consultant. I've done it all. And sales is a very, as I've learned, noble, honest, and genuine profession, because the liars and the kind of the sleazy salesperson that comes to mind, the Machiavellian,
the used car salesman,
right? Yeah, they don't last. Mm-hmm. They don't succeed. They don't make it to the top. And within sales and business ownership and entrepreneurship and kind of all these challenging job roles, there is a personal development and personal growth culture of, how do I learn how to be a better leader, a better communicator, and the such. And none of that exists in the Libertarian Party. I would make the argument that people who sell makeup on Facebook are better, more effective communicators of their passions and ideas than we are about spreading our passions and ideas to new people. And so we need to inject a little bit of that culture into our politics. And so I started what I'm calling the Libertarian Carnegie Caucus, after Dale Carnegie, the author of How to Win Friends and Influence People, which is widely regarded as kind of the most foundational book when it comes to communication and personal development. And so I think if in 2021 we can get most of the liberty movement to read a book as old, as classic, and as full as How to Win Friends and Influence People.
And it's also not that long.
It's not, and it's so easy to read.
Yep.
It's not political theory. Look, if you can read Rothbard, you can freaking read Dale Carnegie, right? Like yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
There is a chapter on smiling. Okay, and so
libertarians read Ayn Rand, and I love Ayn Rand. Right. She was a brilliant woman, but God, did she just have to explain everything in detail?
Exactly. And so and I'm not saying this is all we read. I'm not saying this is all, but it has to be part of it.
Right.
Because if we have these concepts and ideas that we get from these theorists and these economists, but then we can't persuade other people to believe what we believe, we don't really accomplish anything.
Right.
We don't grow our movement. Being smarter for the sake of being smarter accomplishes nothing. It is only when you can give that wisdom and intelligence to other people that you gain from it. And in order to do that, you also need the skills of persuasion, the skills of relationships, the skills of leadership. And so my entire goal with the LP Carnegie Caucus is to start doing more of that, to bring in speakers to our conventions, to our events, who don't just talk politics. They talk how to be better people. And then when you are a better person who has your political beliefs, you become more attractive. You become more likely to be magnetic in a way that people can approach your ideas and believe what you believe. And I think that's kind of the big key goal, is until we get better, our party and our movement won't get better.
Well, not only that, but I love this idea. I love this idea you got going on. I would say that one of the things that should be added to that is that there are some great libertarian and anarchy-minded people in cinema, in music. They should be bringing those bands in, have a concert, put them all together, kind of do your own thing. One of the things that you just said that I want to point out to anyone that's maybe doesn't fully understand this. Donald Trump was getting 40, 50,000 people at times at his rallies, right? That's marketing. That's salesmanship. That's what he was doing. When the DNC does their Get Out the Vote concerts, that's marketing. That's salesmanship. That's what they're doing. And just because they do it doesn't mean that the Libertarian Party should actively not do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can learn even from the people that you disagree with. Take some of the, take the best ideas they have and use them. That's what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, and it's not even their political ideas, because let's be honest, we're right. We hold the perfect political ideology.
Right.
We just aren't selling it.
Exactly.
They're selling a bad product and getting people to buy it.
Yes.
And we have the best product, and we're doing a piss poor job of selling it.
Exactly.
That is what I believe needs to change, and what we've got to get more people involved in order to do so. A great book is where is it? Nope, it's in my Audible. It's called Persuasion by Lee Hartley Carter, and she ran Trump's campaign, not ran his campaign, but she did communication strategy on his campaign.
Yeah,
the first one in 2016 where they beat Hillary.
And say what you want, it was a brilliant communication strategy.
Right. It's approach, right? Like it is the approach and the strategy to persuade and communicate your belief system and your ideas to other people in a way that they gain that same enthusiasm. We need that.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people I saw say Steve Bannon got Trump elected, and Steve Bannon helped, but he's not who got him elected. His communications director got him elected.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know why she doesn't get the credit she deserves, but she should. I was talking, I don't remember who I was talking to about it. I've done a lot of these interviews as of late. But we were talking about, we have, you have bands like All That Remains, a heavy metal, death metal rock band that's just awesome. There's Eric July, his band is really good. You know what I mean? Oh, now I got you over here on two places. That's cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna. If you could boot my non-video out.
Boot the non-video. Gotcha. Move you there. Bring you back in over here. There we are. There we go. We got visuals again.
All right.
Nice. But I don't understand why at the Libertarian National Convention, I know that the party has limited resources, and I don't know if you saw on Twitter that I said that I've been considering becoming a dues-paying member, and part of that is because as a dues-paying member, well, now I give you people money, you have to listen to me. Not that I get to tell you what to do, but I don't understand why LP National or any of the caucuses, if you're going to put on a convention, you're going to do something like that. Why are you not hiring this band?
Yeah.
Get people to come.
Yeah,
Maybe people that would never ever come, but hey, there's a free concert, man, and there's a rock band there, and I don't have to pay. And the worst thing that's going to happen is someone's going to talk to me about freedom. Ooh, that'd be terrible. Why would we want to do that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There are so many skilled and talented people within our movement that we're not highlighting enough. And I think one of that comes back to we spend so much time focused on our disagreements or our, what we're against, and forget to just celebrate and promote the hell out of the people who are doing things. Because, like I said earlier, we have limited capacity for what we spend our energy on, and capacity on negative or negativity is wasting it, in my opinion, when there's an opportunity to do really great things to great people within our movement with our positive energy.
Absolutely agree with that, man. We're gonna have to do this again sometime. We're gonna cut it down right here. Maybe next time we can get you some better bandwidth going on.
Yeah, that would be phenomenal.
So we definitely, I definitely want to do this again. Is there anything you want to shout out? Any, any grift you got to get out there, make some money, or anything like that?
No. I am fortunate in that I married way up. And so what I try to do, I get asked all the time if I have a show or this or that, and I've thought about, for the Carnegie Caucus releasing, potentially some book summaries or having a show that highlights these non-political guests. But in reality, man, guys like you and Reed, y'all have been on this grind for a long time. I'd rather just point people to y'all,
I really haven't been on this grind that long.
Well, still, either way, you're doing great work. And so my grift is to get people to your channel, to get people to their channel, not to do my own thing,
All right, man. Well, I really appreciate this. We'll definitely have to do it again. I got Jeremy's Twitter down there in the bottom, and as I always say, follow him on Twitter. If you don't have Twitter, don't get one because it's a hellscape. So
it is. It is a hellscape cesspool.
Other than that, thanks a lot, Jeremy.
Thanks so much, man.